Hi, Lock Haven University students. My name is Dr. Kathleen Allison, and I'm from the Department of Health Science. In this video, I'm going to share a few of my tips for success in the online environment. So now all of our courses are online, and the big question is, now what? Well, the very first thing that I recommend is that you become familiar with the online platform, and the online platform that we use is D2L. Now, you've probably used it in the past, maybe to turn in some of your papers or maybe to take a quiz, but it's likely that now that we're going to be using this full time, that you're going to be using more of the features than you may have in the past. Now, one of the other reasons it's going to be really important for you to become familiar with D2L is that, just like myself, I don't usually teach online. I do have one class this semester online, but I haven't taught online in a long time. And because of that, I don't even know where all of the new features are, or something that was in one place before isn't where it was before. And so it takes me a little bit longer to do some of that work. And I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't happen with some of the other professors on campus as well. Also, it might happen, because I know I've done this, is that maybe I'll forget to link something. So let's say I want students to go to a discussion board, and I say, hey, do discussion board question number 3, but I don't have it necessarily linked in with the module from that week. You can still access everything without it being linked, and so it's really good for you just to know where things are in case they aren't. Now, when you're taking an online class, there is one thing that you absolutely must do, and that is to read everything. I'm going to say it again. Read everything. So your professors are going to be speaking with you or communicating with you primarily through the written word. Now, of course, many are going to use Zoom videos, and some might use something like the video I'm making right now using a Camtasia video. But, you know, a lot of people might choose to do, part of their work that way, and then the rest of it really in a written form. So they'll have you reading PowerPoints. They'll have you reading articles. They'll have you reading books. And so it's really important that you read everything. The other thing that's important to read are the announcements and the directions to assignments. In fact, I would make sure that I read those things more than once. Every single week, it's going to be important that you check in, and you're going to check in multiple times during the week. This isn't a, hey, I'm going to go in on Sunday and that's it. I'm going to turn everything in on Saturday or turn it in the next Sunday. It's very likely that your professors will put everything on once a week. And then they'll have like a little checklist that you should go through. But I would definitely, if I were you, I would reread that news feed. I would also check my email multiple times during the week. So check the beginning of the week and make sure that you check it at least 3 times during that week on non-consecutive days. Your professor might add something, or once again, maybe you might forget something, and you want to make sure that you didn't forget one bullet point that was there. Now, when we're going to be in an online situation, we're not going to be going to a classroom. And going to a classroom actually gets us in the mindset of being in class or in school. We're going to have to do that for ourselves. So we're going to have to get ourselves into a mindset. So set yourself up with a study and a workspace. Now, I'm not saying that you need your own whole room to do something like this. Maybe you're going to be working at the dining room table, and maybe so are your parents from, working at home, or maybe some of your siblings are going to be doing their schoolwork there too. And the thing is that when you are going to be doing your schoolwork, kind of set yourself up. Have your pencils ready, your paper ready, your textbook ready, have your computer ready. You might even want to use some noise-canceling headphones whenever you're going to be doing some of this work. But get yourself in a situation where whenever you sit down and you see this, your space, your brain is kind of prompted to go, hey, I'm in school. This is my time for learning. This is my time for studying. The other thing is it's really important that you figure out when you do your best work. Some of us like to get up at 5 a.m. I am not one of those people, but I do have a number of friends that do. They get up at 5 a.m. and do a lot of their work. They know that that's a time that they're not going to get interrupted. And that's when they feel most energetic and they feel really focused on their work. I'm a person who prefers to work a little bit later in the day. I like late afternoons. I even like working into the night when it doesn't conflict with my other housemates here. But yeah, you have to figure out when it's going to be best for you to do it. Now, I want to caution you, you'll probably have 4 or 5 different professors, and each one of them is going to have their own way that they like to be contacted. Some of them prefer to be contacted by email. Some of them like you to call them. Some of them like you to text them. So try to contact them in the way that they say that they prefer to be contacted. Now, one of the other things I think is really important is that your professor doesn't keep your hours. Guys, I go to bed probably about, 10:30 every single night. So if you email me after 9, the chances are I'm not going to get your text until the next day, or I'm not going to get your email until the next day. So be a little bit patient with individuals, knowing that it might take them 24 to 48 hours to get back to you. I also want you to think about this particular aspect with how do people like you to turn stuff in. I like my students to turn everything in via the D2L Dropbox. If students turn in something by email, there's a good chance it's going to get mixed up with a different class's work, or it's going to be delayed for me to print it off and take care of it. But if it's in D2L, I know where it is. It's nice and it's safe and it's sound, and we can both always check to see where it is. However, I know other professors that like to get everything through their email box. It's entirely up to your professor. Just make sure that you know how they like to get their stuff done. Now, one of the really key aspects of being successful in an online course is being structured. At the beginning of every week, you're going to be told what needs to be done, and you can think about how long these are going to take to achieve. And are you going to do, I'm going to work on this Monday from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and maybe Tuesday morning from 9 to 10:30. Think about when you're going to complete your tasks and block off that time to do them. I would recommend that you set up a regular schedule. And think about your online class just the same way as a face-to-face class. So let's say, for example, if I have a class every Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 8 to 8:50, maybe I get up and I work from 8 to 8:50. Or maybe I really like to sleep in a little bit later, and then I'm going to do that work every day from 10 to 10:50, that Monday, Wednesday, Friday. In addition to that, I'm going to set up some extra study times related to each one of my courses. But make sure that you do think about, okay, I'm going to take care of this class at this time during your week. So once again, plan on your regular class time. When will you be completing your work? I've taken a few online classes in the past just because I'm a geek and I like taking school classes. But I used to like setting aside a 3-hour time frame every Sunday evening. And I would work on it then. And then I would make sure that I went in, say, every Tuesday night and Thursday night just to check the website again. But I also had my assignments, and I would work on those during different hours. Plan on your study time and your assignment time with about 2 to 3 hours per credit. So I already said, if you have a 3-credit class that goes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, think about how you're going to get that 3 hours in. And on top of that, how you're going to put in between 2 and 3 hours, that's 6 to 9 additional hours for each one of your classes. That'll give you time to read your textbook. It'll give you time to do your writing. It'll give you time to be in your study groups with your pals. Time management, once again, is really important, but it's important that you give your brain a little bit of a rest. So make sure that you do take breaks when you are studying. Studying in small snippets is better than studying all in big one chunk. So every hour or so, make sure that you take a 5 or a 10-minute break. When you are studying, remove the distractions. In fact, you can set a timer and say, I'm going to work on this for 1 hour. Then when your timer goes off, you can go and you can do something else. And in fact, you can set your timer to say, oh, I'm allowed to surf the web for this 15 minutes, and then just make sure that you follow that direction. One of the other things that's going to be really important when you're working in a class is not to wait until the last minute to achieve your assignments or to take quizzes. Inevitably, that's when something's going to go wrong. Professors give you a week or 2 weeks or sometimes even more to get your work accomplished, and they expect that you're working on it through the whole time rather than just at that last minute. A big way to be successful is to actually be in class when you're in class. We already talked about distractions gathering to them. I'm going to say it again because it's so incredibly important. If I'm trying to watch a video while I'm reading my textbook, something's got to give. I'm going to pay attention to one thing and not the other. Another thing, whenever you're in class, you take notes. Whenever you are reading your textbook, when you are watching your PowerPoints, when you're watching some type of video, make sure that you're also taking notes the same way that you would be taking notes in class. Now, most of the communication that's going to take place between you and your professors or you and your peers is going to be written communication. This is a little unfortunate because up to 93% of communication is lost when we're only using words. Tone of voice and body language, all of these really communicate meaning. So, think before you write. Think about really what you want to say and come back to it and make sure that it says what you think that it says. And also, let's say that something happens and maybe you are on a discussion board and you don't like what one of your peers says. Before you respond right away in a negative way, take a step back and don't make assumptions about the author. It's likely that they were thinking something and what they were thinking wasn't conveyed exactly the correct way. When something doesn't make sense to you in your D2L shell, ask, ask, ask. When you don't understand how to do a particular math problem or you don't understand a particular concept in the sciences or in the health sciences or in English or you name the class, make sure that you ask the professor. That's what we get paid for. So you are not interrupting us whenever you are asking questions. Now, sometimes you want to ask your friends about how maybe they're approaching a subject or how to do something. It's good to make sure that you don't just rely on them for information because the professor is the person with the ultimate authority on how something should be assessed. Another thing that's kind of nice, let the professor know when something isn't working. For example, this week in one of my classes, I posted a PowerPoint on diabetes, and I actually put the PowerPoint on rather than a PDF of my PowerPoint. Well, as it turned out, one of the students had a different version of PowerPoint that I had, and he wasn't able to access it. If he didn't tell me, I wouldn't have known. Interestingly enough, I had actually already saved it as a PDF, but whenever I posted it, I posted the wrong one. So, just make sure if you say something, let someone know if something doesn't work. Sometimes it's a technology problem, and both the professor and you are going to have to go, hey, need to talk to IT to get something worked out. But sometimes it's that the professor posted the wrong thing, or maybe whenever they were posting it, it took a long time and it didn't post quite the correct way. So just let them know. When you are completing assignments, I said this already, but complete assignments on time. And really one of the benefits of that is that your stress is lower, the professor's stress is lower, and if you have some extra time, you can even ask a professor if he or she will look at it ahead of time and they can give you some feedback. Another thing, be sure to follow the rubric. We try to give directions, we try to give really good directions, and we try to give a rubric that follows our directions. Sometimes what students will do is that they will read the directions and they won't go back and reread the rubric. If something is, if I say, hey, I want you to list 3 things, and you read over the assignment, but you forget that I said that listing 3 things and you only list 2, then obviously points are going to go off, and it doesn't matter how much effort you put in there. We really try to follow rubrics so that we're consistent whenever we're grading different students. So make sure that you look over the directions, and once again, if the directions don't make sense, ask, 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 because if you don't understand it, somebody else doesn't understand it. And we've been here all along thinking about this project in our mind, and it's crystal clear to us. And sometimes, there's something lost in translation. So you want to make sure that you find out. This is a great time for you to study with your friends. You don't have to do everything on your own. In fact, online learning by yourself is a little bland. So form your own study groups. Don't wait to get assigned to them. You can email, you can Skype, you can FaceTime, You can even write your quizzes and then share them with your friends and see if they can, how they score. These are all different ways that you can interact with your peers to enhance your learning. Also, great way to do some teach backs with each other. So if you're a person that likes doing study groups in a face-to-face setting, I highly encourage you to do study groups in an electronic fashion. Now, one last thing about being a good learner. A good learner is someone who's healthy. It's a lot easier to learn whenever you have been adequately rested. In fact, students retain more whenever they are rested, and you form memories whenever you rest. So, do your studying and take a nap. Do your studying and then make sure that you get 8 hours of sleep a night. Eating healthfully, also really good. Too much caffeine is going to interfere with your sleep, and that's going to interfere with your ability to learn. Right now, we're in some pretty stressful times, and so important that we do some self-care and take care of ourselves through exercise. And I have down here some meditation, yoga, something that's really going to help out with our mental health. And get outside, get in that sunshine, just make sure that you keep your social distance. And last but not least, make sure, once again, that you always contact your professors if you have any questions. That's what we're here for, and we really want you to be successful. These are some additional resources that I saw online. Nice graphics go along with them about how to study in an online class and how to schedule your study hours in distance learning. Once again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, contact your other professors, and let's have a great rest of the semester.